Lieutenant Marcus Chun had seen it all during his 12 years in the Army. He'd earned his stripes through sweat and determination, rising through the ranks with the kind of confidence that sometimes blurred into arrogance. On that humid Tuesday morning at Fort Bragg, he stood at the entrance of the officers' mess hall, coffee in hand, trading stories with fellow lieutenants about their latest training exercises. That's when he saw her. She was small, maybe 5'3", walking across the parade ground in a uniform that looked freshly pressed, but somehow did and quite fit the way a seasoned soldier would. Her movements were careful, almost hesitant, and she carried herself with a quiet dignity that Marcus immediately misread as timidity. What caught his attention, though, was the rank insignia on her collar. Captain. She was a captain, and he'd never seen her before. Marcus nudged his companion and smirked. Look at that. Another one of those fast-track promotions. Probably got her rank from pushing papers in some air-conditioned office in Washington. His voice carried further than he intended, and several heads turned. The woman kept walking, her eyes fixed straight ahead, but something in the set of her shoulders suggested she'd heard every word. His friend, Lieutenant Rodriguez, shifted uncomfortably. Man, maybe keep it down. You don't know her story. But Marcus was already committed to his narrative, fueled by the frustration of watching others advance while he remained stuck at his rank for 3 years. He'd been passed over for promotion twice, and the bitterness had taken root deep in his chest. Over the following weeks, Marcus saw the captain around base frequently. She worked in the administrative building, and rumors swirled about her being some kind of special assignment officer. He made it his mission to undermine her whenever possible, making snide comments about desk jockeys and paper pushers within earshot, questioning decisions that came from her office, rolling his eyes during briefings she conducted. His behavior didn't go unnoticed, but no one directly confronted him. The captain herself never responded, never acknowledged his hostility. She simply continued her work with the same quiet determination. Then came the announcement that would change everything. General Sarah Mitchell, the first female 4-star general in the Army's history, would be visiting Fort Bragg for an inspection and ceremony honoring distinguished service members. The entire base buzzed with preparation. Marcus, as officer of the day, was responsible for coordinating part of the arrival ceremony. The morning of the general's visit, Marcus stood in formation with dozens of other officers, his uniform immaculate, his bearing perfect. He'd rehearsed his salute 100 times. This was his chance to make an impression, to finally get noticed by someone who could make a difference in his stalled career. The general's convoy pulled up precisely at 0900 hours, and Marcus's heart pounded with anticipation. General Mitchell emerged from the vehicle, her presence commanding immediate respect. She was flanked by aides and senior officers, moving down the receiving line with practiced efficiency. But then something unexpected happened. The general's eyes swept across the assembled officers and locked onto someone behind Marcus. Her stern expression transformed into something he'd never seen on a general's face: raw emotion, pride mixed with what looked like barely contained tears. The general stepped out of the formal receiving line and walked directly past Marcus toward the captain he'd been mocking for months. And then, in a moment that seemed to freeze time itself, General Sarah Mitchell, 4 stars gleaming on her shoulders, rendered a crisp, perfect salute to the young captain. The entire parade ground fell into stunned silence. The captain returned the salute, and then the general did something even more shocking. She pulled the younger woman into an embrace. "Captain Mitchell," the general said, her voice thick with emotion, "your mother would be so incredibly proud of you." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face as pieces fell into place. The general stepped back, keeping her hands on the captain's shoulders. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced to the assembled crowd, "I want you to meet Captain Rebecca Mitchell, my niece. 6 months ago, she was serving as a combat medic in Afghanistan when her convoy was ambushed. She lost 3 members of her team that day, but saved 17 others while under heavy fire, sustaining serious injuries herself. She earned her captain's bars through a battlefield commission, something that hasn't been done in this man's army in over a decade. She's been here recovering, doing administrative work during her physical therapy, preparing to return to active duty." The general's gaze found Marcus in the formation, and he felt every ounce of his arrogance crumble. Captain Mitchell had been healing from wounds he'd never bothered to look for, carrying grief he'd never tried to understand, displaying the kind of courage he'd only ever talked about. In that moment, Marcus understood that rank and respect weren't about time served or dues paid. They were earned in moments of truth, in sacrifice and selflessness, in choosing duty over comfort. He'd spent months mocking a hero while polishing his own carefully constructed image of what a soldier should be. As the ceremony continued, Marcus stood at attention, but inside, he was beginning the long journey of learning what it truly meant to serve.